Hello everyone, welcome to the 4 Minute Show. Today our guest is Christian Rez. He is an entrepreneur and co-founder of Univer Websites, which began its operation in 2019. He is born and raised in Miami, Florida, and the oldest of 5 siblings. Christian has always had a passion for making vision come to life by using creativity and innovation. After losing over 100 pounds and struggling with creating a healthy lifestyle, Christian has also found purpose in helping other people become best version of themselves. Hi Christian, welcome to the 4 Minute Show.
Hey Jay, thanks for having me on here.
Yeah. Uh, what inspired you to become entrepreneur and how has been your journey in this field?
Oof, that's a loaded question. So I would say what inspired me to be an entrepreneur is just looking at people, I would say honestly, like Walt Disney. He was probably one of my biggest inspirations because I live in Florida. So growing up, I had the opportunity to attend Disney World a lot when I was growing up. Um, and just being able to see that growing up, see how he took an idea, a vision that he had and made it a reality. That was something that I was very inspired by from a young age. And then from a very, very early age, I was, the type of person who was constantly like thinking of things, creating things with my hands, just all types of things, right? Just dreaming of ideas, things, right? So eventually, as I was growing up, I just realized like, hey, I have a passion for creating solutions, solving problems, and creativity. And I think that that meshed really well all together, and that's why I felt called to be an entrepreneur.
That's really amazing. Less people get opportunity to meet Walt Disney's event. How did you overcome the most difficult time as an entrepreneur?
How did I welcome the most difficult time as an entrepreneur? So I think that as an entrepreneur, I think it's important to know that we have to be okay with delaying gratification. So, especially in the early initial phases of starting, it's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows, right? It's that we're going to have struggle, we're going to have adversity, we're going to have obstacles that we have to overcome, right? But I think what I've always held on to is two very, very, very simple words. And I talk about this pretty often on my Instagram account. It's keep going, right? Because if there's something on your heart, on your mind that you really, really want to do, you're going to keep going. I believe that the biggest difference between the people who, go after their heart's desires and achieve whatever it is they want to do versus those that don't is that they kept going, right? So when these difficult times come, which I've had, already happen, right? Those are opportunities to stop. Those are opportunities to say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, right? But it's really up to us in those moments to decide, are we going to rise up to the occasion and let those obstacles stop us, or are we going to say, hey, I really want to do this even though this is a hard moment right now, I'm going to keep going and I know that I can do this.
Oh, that's amazing. But many people like start doing, but after a few days or weeks or months, they get demotivated and just stop things. So, what will you recommend to those guys or those persons?
Look, it happens to me quite often where I go through unmotivated phases, right? And I don't think it's possible to be motivated all the time. Maybe it is. For me, it's not. Because motivation is like a feeling, it's an emotion, it's fleeting, it comes and goes, right? So it's more about relying on discipline, right? More on saying, hey, sometimes you have to do things that you have to do, even if you don't want to do them, right? But at the same time, I think it's also just embracing where you are at in the moment, right? So if you're not feeling motivated and you're like, hey, I really just really, really can't do this right now, that's fine. Go outside, take a walk, read a book, do something, right? To get into that proper headspace. I think that one of the biggest issues right now is people try to force themselves into situations when they're not feeling right. They're not ready for something, right? And that just creates resistance. You don't feel good, and I don't think that anything really good can come from that in the long term, right?
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, motivation has to come from within, right? It has to come from yourself. You have to want it. You have to create that motivation for yourself. So I think that there's a couple of things you can do if you lose motivation. You can just, like I said, take a break, right? Do things that make you feel good, feel happy. You can always go on the internet too, motivational
Yeah.
videos. Sometimes that helps,
That
listening to
works
someone who
very
gets
well
you, yeah,
for a few days. Yeah.
listening to that, it can get you like fired up, like, oh yeah, I'm ready, right? But
Yeah.
you have to act on it when you feel that. It's not just, okay, let me get motivated and not do anything with it, right? Use the motivation, channel the motivation to do what you want to do.
So, what one piece of advice you give to someone who wants to become an entrepreneur or who wants to become into a developer field like you are in Shopify and WordPress and all those stuff? So, what will you recommend to those guys?
The three words I always say is like Nike says, just do it, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times in life we think, hey, I have to wait until the right moment. I have to wait until, I'm ready, right? And there is some truth to that, right? Because there are certain windows of opportunity that we have to wait for, right? Like there just is naturally in life, there's a window of opportunity for certain things to happen. But at the same time, in order for those windows of opportunity to even come up and for you to be ready for them, you have to be prepared, right? So there's this common saying that says, success is when opportunity meets preparation. And I believe in that. And how do you become prepared? You become prepared by just doing it, by putting in the work, by putting in the repetition, right? So it really just comes down to saying, hey, this is what I want to do. Let me go ahead and let me get started. That's how we started our business. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. My brother, we're business partners. It's both of us. We knew we wanted to do this, right? So we spent maybe about 1 month in total thinking of exactly what it is we wanted to do. And then that's it. We got started, Sometimes people take, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I think that the best way to learn anything is by for me, I'm a hands-on person. Like I said, from when I was a very young, early age, right? Like by doing is how I learned that. That's how I gain the knowledge, the experience. Web development, same thing. I started by, just building websites. Hey, you need a website built? We'll start here. We'll start small. It'll help me gain the experience. And then, of course, doing the research, right? Like looking at websites, understanding, hey, this is what makes a good website. This is what a good website is not. It's just research, preparation, and actually doing it.
Oh, amazing, man. That's a lovely answer for this question. But also, I want to ask, what will you recommend to your younger self? If not entrepreneurship, where you will go?
Oof, that's a very, very tough question. So I initially was going to study law, but I don't think I would have ended up there either. If I didn't go into entrepreneurship, I feel like I probably would have ended up doing something more creative. So I DJ. I'm also a DJ. I DJ on this like occasionally. And it's something that I've done since I was about 13 years old, right? And it's more of like a side thing at the moment for me, right? But I feel like if I didn't go for entrepreneurship, that's probably what would have been at the forefront, right? I also used to be very, very passionate about film, movies, right? So it probably would have been something along those lines. And then if it wasn't any of those, I could see myself being a teacher, like an actual teacher.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the things I probably would have done.
Okay. So what would you like to tell the audience about these whole WordPress and all those things like Shopify? And can you tell us in detail what is Shopify and WordPress? Like people who are in web development, they don't know how we can do drop shipping on Shopify and work on Shopify.
Right. So the internet's a very, very big space, right? It's almost like the actual space, right? Like it's just very big. You're never gonna see all of it. There's so many things out there. And then because of that, there's also different platforms. So where a website is built, how a website is built, it's usually built on a certain platform, right? And there's certain ways to go about that. Two of the most popular platforms are WordPress, and then for e-commerce, which is where products are being sold on the website, Shopify tends to be one of the more popular ones as well. Now, Shopify is not the only e-commerce platform, right? For example, WordPress is considered a blogging platform, but it really has now been used for a wide variety of cases. WordPress also has this thing called WooCommerce, which is an add-on that can turn a WordPress website into an e-commerce website, right? So there's just so many different things. Then you have, things like Wix, Squarespace. Now there's Webflow. And then of course you have even the most basic custom code HTML websites, right? And you have people who are using React.js, like you mentioned the other day. So there's just so many different things. But Shopify is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, e-commerce platform on the internet right now. A lot of brands have switched to using Shopify because it's very simple and easy to use for a business owner. And when you go on Shopify, not only can you make a very good functioning website, they have their own dedicated servers. So that means their websites are going to run much smoother than maybe another website, right? But a business owner who can go on Shopify, it's very easy for them to understand, the back end, the numbers, look at the big picture of how their website's performing, right? Compared to, say, WordPress, where there's a little bit more of a learning curve. But WordPress, the reason why it's used pretty often is because it is simple to use. It's not super duper easy, right? There is a little bit of a learning curve for WordPress, right? But compared to like custom code, it is much more usable. And WordPress offers a lot of flexibility in terms of what can be done. There's just so many different things you can do, so many use cases. So that's why it's also a very, very common solution in the web design space.
Okay. Thank you, Christian. Thank you for being on this 4-minute show. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. These were some great questions, and I hope that everyone listening gets a lot of value from this.
For sure, man. Thank you. Thanks for listening the 4-minute show. If you enjoyed this episode, support the podcast by sharing it with others on social media or leave a rating and a review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram. My username is Jaigandecha. Thank you. See you again next time.